So a lot of you have followed my journey from shooting almost exclusively on Micro Four Thirds cameras to slowly and maybe even reluctantly switching to the full frame L mount system. When I first tried the original S5, I could probably count on one hand the amount of autofocus L mount lenses that I could actually afford. So I was basically stuck shooting on my kit lens and adapting my vintage primes. And it hasn't really been until recently that other brands have been releasing some affordable autofocus prime lenses for the L mount system. Enter the 7 Artisans 35 and 24mm f1.8. Yes, 7 Artisans did send me these lenses to review, but they have no say in the content of this video. All of these thoughts and opinions are my own. So 7 Artisans kind of started out as like the super cheap brand, but I think recently they've become a formidable player in the full frame lens market. So yeah, they sent me the 24 and 35mm prime lenses that are an f1.8, and they also have autofocus. 35mm seems to be a focal length that's either loved or hated. I personally think that it's probably one of the most versatile lenses that you can get. And I think that if maybe I was upgrading from like the kit lens, this would probably be the first focal length that I would go with. So this 7 Artisans 35mm f1.8 is only gonna run you about $300. And if you compare that to the Lumix equivalent, the Lumix is gonna run you about $700. I think that this focal length can be great for things like environmental portraiture, interviews, and even B-roll. I've been using it in some of my videos as a talking head lens as well. So it's a very usable focal length that I think a lot of people sleep on. And I just love how well the autofocus works for YouTube videos like this. So this is the 24mm f1.8 by 7 Artisans. Brand new, this lens is gonna cost you around $330. But if you compare it to the Lumix equivalent, the Lumix version is going to run you around $900. So there's a $570 savings when you go for the 7 Artisans over the Lumix. So 24mm I think is a great focal length to do talking to camera sections like this, especially if you're in a smaller space. So you'll notice that the autofocus actually works really well on cameras like my Lumix S9, my S5 IIX, or the S1 Mark II. The build quality of these lenses also exceed the cost in my opinion. Everything feels really premium, feels like it's made almost completely out of metal, and I'm just overall impressed with how these lenses feel in the hand. So something I also appreciate about these 7 Artisan lenses is that the filter size is the same. So both of these lenses take a 62mm filter thread. So I don't do clinical lens tests here on this channel, but one thing I always do like to test is the minimum focusing distance. And on the 24mm, it's about 1.05 feet. And then the 35mm is gonna be 1.3 feet. So the focus breathing on these 7 Artisan lenses is actually pretty good. They're not gonna be as good as dedicated cinema lenses, but I've actually found these to be pretty good performers for the price. 7 Artisans are offering these primes in a bunch of different focal lengths for the L mount. They have an 85 and 50, as well as the 35 and 24 that you've seen here. They're all very affordable and offer a lot of value. So I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that these are gonna surpass the quality of the Lumix primes. The chromatic aberration, focus breathing, edge distortion, sharpness are probably gonna fall behind if you pixel peep. But I find that most people, especially people viewing things online, aren't really gonna notice those subtle differences in bokeh rendering or sharpness. Focusing on your composition, your lighting, and your color grading are gonna be far more important than having a slightly better lens anyways. Thank you so much for watching this video, and to 7 Artisans for sending these out to review. I will have some more tests on these lenses on my second channel, which you can check out. Again, thanks for stopping by. Vai con Deus, and I'll see you next time. Bye.